yesterday's attacks, among other things.
Some say that he does have ties to Muslim extremists. I don't know.
September 11, 2001. A series of attacks makes an apocalyptic scene in the heart of the U.S. President George W. Bush characterizes the attacks as acts of terror targeting freedom and democracy.
Good evening. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. I've directed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to find those responsible and to bring them to justice.
On the 27th of November 2002, a bipartisan commission was formed by Congress to investigate the attacks. 2 years later, when the Commission's report was released in July 2004, something was missing that added up to 28 pages with no convincing reason.
They pushed back very hard on the 28 pages, and they said, no, that cannot be unclassified at this time.
Did you happen to ask the FBI director why it was classified?
We did in a general way, and the answer was because we said so and it needs to be classified.
For the next 12 years, the pages remained classified and therefore unavailable to the public or the press. They were available to members of Congress, one person at a time, to read the document without being allowed to take notes or share them with others. Meanwhile, pressure from some congressmen and the families of victims increased on the White House to release the 28 pages. They wanted to know the truth and the secret behind the attacks. But the Obama administration, just like his predecessor, refused to publish them.
Everybody's information bulletin.
Amid widespread speculations about the nature of the secret, the one from John F. Lehman, who sat on the 9/11 Commission from 2003 to 2004, attracted a great deal of attention. According to him, there was an awful lot of participation by Saudi individuals in supporting the hijackers, and some of those people worked in the Saudi government. The official report on 9/11 should never have been read as an exoneration of Saudi Arabia. To Senator Bob Graham, a longtime advocate of declassifying the pages, what all those years of suppression came to was a carefully orchestrated campaign to protect Saudi friends from the public revelation, their intimate ties to Al-Qaeda and the 9/11 attacks.
The position of the United States government has been to protect Saudi Arabia at virtually every step of the judicial process. When the United States government was called upon to take a position, it has been a position adverse to the interest of the United States citizens, seeking justice and protective of the government, which, in my judgment, was the most responsible for that network of support.
The controversy about Saudi Arabia's role in the attack surged in May, when the U.S. Senate passed a bill allowing the families of 9/11 victims to sue Riyadh for the damage caused by the tragic event.
Our bill has passed the Senate, the bill that I have sponsored with Senator John Cornyn, a Republican from Texas. Our bipartisan bill has passed the Senate. It had a hearing in the House. These pages mean that the bill should pass the House quickly, the President should sign it, and the families who lost loved ones should go to court and have the right to prove that the Saudi government was complicit and get compensation for that.
In reaction, Saudi Arabia threatened to sell up to $750 billion in U.S. securities and other assets if it became law. The White House rushed to announce that it would veto the bill, reluctant to broach the subject of Saudi role in the 9/11 attacks. To many observers, it showed how desperate the U.S. government was to cover up the Saudi role and maintain its ties with the Arab kingdom. The fact is that Saudi Arabia has long managed the oil market to keep prices in the West at affordable levels. Currently, the Saudis have hundreds of billions of dollars invested in various ways in the United States. These include stocks, bonds, real estate, and currency holdings. Saudi Arabia is also the top purchaser of U.S. weapons, periodically buying as much as $60 billion worth of armaments at a time from U.S. military contractors. This puts Saudi Arabia in a very strong economic position in relation to the United States. A rapid withdrawal of Saudi funds from the U.S. would send the country's stock market into a tailspin. However, having bowed to public pressure, the White House agreed to declassify the document in July 2016. And even then, it tried to show that the 28 pages were no big deal.
What you'll find when you take a look at the document is that it will confirm what we have been saying for quite some time, which is that this material was investigative material that was reviewed and followed up on by the independent 9/11 Commission that was formed outside of the U.S. government to take a look at the attacks of 9/11. And the conclusion of the 9/11 Commission was, as they wrote, they found, quote, no evidence that the Saudi government as an institution or senior Saudi officials individually funded al-Qaeda.
By the same token, CIA Director John O'Brennan told the Saudi-owned Arabia TV that the publication of a classified report would prove that Saudi Arabia didn't play any role in the 9/11 attacks. Brennan's statement stood in contradiction with earlier reports blaming the government in Riyadh for supporting the 19 attackers, most of whom with Saudi nationality. To obfuscate matters more, the Saudis also made a U-turn on the publication of the pages, acting cruel and innocent.
We asked that the 28 pages be released in 2002 when they were first classified. His Royal Highness Prince Saud Al Faisal, then Foreign Minister, came to Washington with a message from then Crown Prince Abdullah bin Abdulaziz to President Bush, and in the White House we said we would like the 28 pages released so that we can respond to any allegations against us.
In July 2016, the U.S. Congress finally put out the last chapter of its report that was locked away in the basement of the Capitol for years. It indicates that Saudi officials may have had multiple contacts with some of the hijackers who carried out the coordinated attacks in the U.S. back in 2001 and killed nearly 3,000 people. The document says, while in the United States, some of the September 11 hijackers were in contact with and received support or assistance from individuals who may be connected to the Saudi government. It names individuals including Osama Basnan and Omar al-Bayoumi, who financially supported the hijackers with the money they received from Saudi Prince Bandar bin Sultan, then ambassador to the U.S. The document also reveals that an unlisted phone number linked closely to Bandar was found in the phone book of al-Qaeda associate Abu Zubaydah in Pakistan. A full reading of the 28 pages indicates that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Though the 9/11 attacks are the most investigated event in the recent history of the U.S., there are still many questions to be answered. What roles did Prince Bandar bin Sultan and his father, Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz, then Minister of Defense and Aviation, play in the attacks? Was Prince Turki Al Faisal aware of the terrorist attacks, given the fact that he had tendered his resignation as the Director General of Al-Mukhabarat Al-Amma, Saudi Arabia's intelligence agency, 10 days before the attacks? The July release of 28 pages from a 2002 congressional inquiry was just the first step toward gaining full transparency on the U.S. government's investigation of a Saudi role in the 9/11 attacks. This is, as Bob Graham puts it, removing the cork from the bottle. Yet there is a significant amount of information to be uncorked.